registration is now open for my summer speed and conditioning camp right here in Sylvan Lake, Alberta. You can check out Tejas Sports Academy on Facebook for all the details and registration link. Tejas Sports Academy is run by me. I run both speed and basketball camps throughout the year. My next camps are coming up this summer, and registration is open now.
Most of us hear a game plan for football, but won't financially plan out our lives. 1 in 4 Canadians are unable to cover an unexpected expense of over $500. This is due to Canadians currently having concerns over things like debt, cash flow concerns, retirement concerns, and possibly even job security. And for some of the young Canadians out there, they always wonder on what does it take or what does it look like to get started. My name is Omari Fraser, and I've been in the financial services industry for just shy of 10 years. I'm fortunate to be in a spot to where I'm able to help educate fellow Canadians on what you can do to move forward and get yourself in a spot that's going to take you to your financial goals. Feel free to reach out to me at 403-467-2306 or reach out to me on Instagram to get the conversation started and taking a look at what a financial plan looks like for you. Take care. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome to Alberta Football Uncensored. I'm your host, T. Johannesson, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Omari Fraser. We've been a little bit behind. My life's insanely busy right now. I'm coaching a spring basketball team. I had my spring camp for my football team, and I'm running a speed camp and a basketball camp. So I got 4 different coaching things going on, plus some personal stuff, some good news personal stuff, but so nothing bad, no one needs to worry, but that's also kind of taking my time. So we're going to try to rock out a bunch of stuff today. We're going to recap week 1, do a little bit of a recap of week 2, maybe if we get to it. And we're going to have the Peace Country Cowboys joining us in a little bit here. But before we start, I do have to grind some gears a little bit. Because that's what we do on the podcast anyways. So I think most people are aware by now that our Bucks game got canceled versus the Irish. And I'm so angry at the fact that the people in charge of this league, the people in charge of the Irish, could not figure this out. And in my view, from everything that I've heard, is there wasn't much of an attempt to be done. Now, there's so many problems with this, Omari and everyone listening. I've obviously, look, I'm a vocal person. I'm outspoken. I believe in truth. I believe in speaking your truth. I believe in having difficult conversations, and I don't shy away from conflict. And I know it rubs certain people the wrong way, but the people that it rubs the wrong way are the people that know that I'm right. And those people get upset when I tell the truth and call out their own inadequacies. So the reality is the people on the AFL board, and I'll talk a little. There's a couple different things that went on here, but let's focus on the AFL board right now. So this group of people, by the way, we might as well start. I know we call the Edmonton Elite the mystery men because they don't come on the podcast. Here's the reality with the Elite. I like and respect a lot of the players on that team. I have a problem with a few people, and I think they're silly for not wanting to come on the podcast. But the AFL board are the true mystery men. Who are these people? Does anyone, I know because I know, but does anybody else actually know? Can people name who the president of our league is, the vice president? Does anyone know the vice president of our league? Secretary, treasurer, anything? These people are invisible. So they're out here apparently running a league. Nobody knows who they are. Nobody knows their faces. They're never around. They never post anything. The only people that do anything for this league are myself and Omari. The biggest thing that this league has ever had, and this is, again, this might piss some people off, but it's the truth. The biggest thing that this league has ever had is this podcast. This podcast has taken the league to a whole new levels. The popularity that we're getting on this thing has blown both of our minds. Omari and I started this as kind of like a pet project, and we're kind of hoping like a couple people would listen. Now we're getting hundreds and hundreds of downloads on every single episode. People are invested in the Alberta Football League, and the executive is missing in action. Nowhere to be found. Not one time has the executive reached out to me and been like, how can we partner with your podcast to bring our league up? How has that not happened? You know why that's not happened? Because there's personal bias against on the people that are on that executive against me, because I call it how it is. And I tell them and I tell everybody else that they're doing a shitty job. There's no transparency. Nobody wants to put the so I was president of the league like 4 years ago before COVID. For a small time, I was VP, and then I had to fill in and be president for like a year. And I was doing weekly Facebook Live. This is before a lot of like the Twitch streams and stuff like that. But I was doing weekly Facebook Lives as the president of the league, updating the members of the league, the players of the league. What are we doing? What we're trying to accomplish? All the goals that I had in mind. I was talking to them about how my vision for the league and what I wanted to see. And I was talking about the upcoming AGMs and what teams were coming in. And I was being incredibly transparent with the whole league, so everyone in the AFL could understand what's going on. This AFL executive does nothing. Instead, they spend most of their time hating on me. And get this shit, Omari. Yesterday at practice, the chairman of my team got upset at me a bit, not super upset, but was annoyed by me because I made a post on the Alberta official Facebook forum, which is the other only thing that the Alberta Football League puts forward. And again, that's run by me. And the league wants nothing to do with that either. And I made a post calling them out and telling the truth. And instead of the executive like coming out and trying to do something and put their faces out there and make a statement like, this is what's happening, this is our plan, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're seeing it, this is what we're talking about. None of that occurred. Instead, they got pissed off at the chairman of my team because he can't control Tej. Well, no fucking person can control me. I'm going to do what I want. And I'm going to say what I want because that's what I do. That's the whole point of this podcast. That's the whole point of the forum. If you don't like what I'm saying, AFL executive, stop whining like little babies. Stop whining. You're grown-ass men. Buck up. Realize Tej is right. We're not being transparent. We're not telling anybody what's going on. And so instead of us getting pissed off and crying about what Tej, because Tej said mean things to us, figure it out. I'm not going to say mean things to you. I'm not going to call you out if you're doing things correctly. So the reality is you're mad at me and then you're mad at the chairman of my team. But the actual truth is you're mad at yourselves because you're inadequacies. You're inadequate at what you do. Everyone on that executive at this point, as far as I'm concerned, every single one of you is inadequate. Every single one of you. You should all step down. You should walk away from the job. None of you are doing anything. And if you are doing something, nobody knows about it, because you don't tell anybody. There's no updates from the league. We were supposed to have a game Saturday morning, and I didn't know the game was canceled until Saturday morning. So what the hell is going on, AFL executive, Vince Roth, the president, does anyone even know that? Vince is a goof. I've never liked the guy. I try to be respectful to him. I can't stand him as a human being. I honestly think that he's just not a very good human being in my books. Maybe some people think he's great. He hasn't treated me very well over the years that I've known him. He can't do anything. He doesn't put his face out. Instead, he whines and cries because, Tej is being mean to us again. Vince, an AFL executive, smarten the fuck up. Figure your shit out. You know what you should have done? You know what I would have done if I was president of the league at the time that this was happening? The second that I found out the field wasn't ready to be used, I would have put out a statement via video or social media. I would say website, but you guys can't even keep a fucking website together. Go check out the AFL website right now, everyone. It's non-existent. There's no updates. Nobody does anything. So I would have put out a statement, something, said, hey, everybody, this is the situation. The AFL board is working on this. We are working tirelessly to figure this out. We are going to make this work. And you know what? You could have made it work. The Calgary Gators had no problem making it work. No problem making it work. I got the head coach of Strathmore High School, Danny Morrick, was ready to give us his field on Saturday. They didn't reach out to Strathmore. They didn't reach out to Okotoks. There's 2 fields in Okotoks. There's a field in Chestermere. There's a field in Strathmore. There's fields everywhere. Did they reach out to Rundle College? Did they reach out to the other turf fields? First of all, nobody fucking knows who they reached out to because they don't tell anybody what's going on. So there's this complete mystery about who these people even are, because and apparently they're supposed to be running a league that they do nothing for. How is this league growing? How has this league, can anybody tell me how this league has grown in the last 2 years besides this podcast? There's nothing. Individual teams might be doing something. You've got teams doing things and bringing the awareness to the league through their own means. But the AFL executive is missing in action, gone, doing nothing. You should all step down immediately, and they're all going to be upset about this. They're all going to cry and whine. They're going to go to the chairman of my team. Oh, you can't control Tej. No, freedom of motherfucking speech. I'm going to say what I want, and If I'm lying, if you can find a hole in what I'm saying, or if you can find a reason why I'm wrong, please come forward, AFL executive. You're welcome on the podcast. You're welcome at any time to come and explain to me how I'm wrong. Now, when you can realize that I'm not wrong and that everything I'm saying is true, then you can apologize to me and figure your shit out and start being better at your jobs. The only reason you're mad at me is because I'm right and you're inadequate. So figure it out or step down. That is my advice to you. Secondly, David Dominic posted on the official Facebook forum today wondering what the hell's going on with the national championship. Why haven't we heard anything from the AFL? What's going on? Why has there been no statement whatsoever? Nobody even knows if there's a national championship game. Now, I've heard from the NFC that there's going to be, but why? And even if it's not firm, AFL, the second that shit happens in the NFC, you should put out a statement. The AFL is aware of what is going on in the NFC. We are committed to keeping the national championship, and we will do everything we can to make sure there is still a national championship being played this year. Boom, done. At least it's something. That's still not enough, but at least it's something. But you know what? Fucking crickets. Nothing. Nobody knows. AFL exec can't. You know what I was a part of that AFL executive Facebook chat. You know how they communicate? Facebook group messenger. You know what they do? They bitch, complain, and whine at each other all day long. Nobody comes to an agreement. The president doesn't get a vote. The vice president doesn't get a vote. The league is run by the people who run the teams, and they all vote for their own interests. It's a complete sham, and they're all doing a terrible job of it. So I know you're listening because I know we get a lot, you contribute to the downloads, which contributes to us being able to charge more for sponsors. So I appreciate you listening, but you're definitely listening and you're definitely getting pissed off. But again, ask yourself this question. Why am I pissed off? And the answer, I'm going to help you out here. The answer is because I'm right, and it pisses you off that I'm right because I'm calling out your inadequacies. So, long story short, AFL executive, you need to be more transparent. What is going on with the league? What are your goals? I want to see it. Make a post, make a statement, come out here. You know what they did? You know what they will do? They'll come out and make a statement that says, Tej is no longer allowed to play in our league because he talks shit about us. Go ahead and I'm sure they've tried to go down that route. They're probably trying to create bylaws to ban me from the league because I tell the truth. You guys can go ahead and do that. I'm still going to tell the truth on my podcast, and I'm still going to be out here and still going to be playing football because that's what this is all about. But you got to figure your stuff out. It is completely unacceptable the way that this happened. And on top of this, it's not like this was the first time this happened. Last year, Grand Prairie traveled to Edmonton, 6-hour drive. And when they got to the game, we're told the game is canceled because of smoke. Now, that's not the AFL's fault. It's a shitty situation. That game never got rescheduled. That game didn't get played, which is bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. There's no in my 22 years of football, I've never had a game be canceled. And if it was, it got replayed. But literally, I've never had a game be canceled. But you'd think after last year that the AFL exec would sit down and go, hey, guys, maybe we should come up with like a bylaw or a protocol or something to deal with a situation where a game gets canceled because we have to reschedule it. So it should have been in the bylaw. And for me, it's really simple. If a game gets canceled, you move that game to the quarterfinal weekend and you bump the playoffs back a week. It's really quite simple. It's not hard. Anybody could figure this out. I figured it out in 2 seconds. It should be a bylaw and in the rule book. Now, if that date conflicts, you can figure it out from there. But there was nothing. These people don't learn from anything that happens. The league exec has done nothing to grow the league. I want them to come out here like I did when I was president. Weekly updates. What are you doing? What is your goals? What's your vision for the future? What's the point of having an executive if there's no vision for the future? Like when I was president, I was like, I want a hotel sponsorship for the entire league, and I locked that down. And then when Vince took over, he nixed it. When I was president, I had $1,000 sponsorship from Supplement King to buy us a brand new league trophy because our league trophy is shit. And it's been around for a long time. $1,000 would buy a really nice trophy. When Vince became president, he nixed that. He got rid of it. Why? Because it was me that brought it forward. These are true facts of the situation. And I'm so glad I'm not a part of that anymore. And I don't want to be a part of it anymore. But somebody, when the next election happens, a group of people need to come together who care about this league and run for president and vice president. Now, the problem is the people who vote for the president are the current people who are on the executive. Okay, so it's just a shit show. My honest thought is a presidential and vice presidential and board member AFL executive election, every single person who was eligible for playoffs, meaning they played the 3 games the year prior, should be eligible to vote in those elections. And I tried to put that forward again because I was trying to change and grow the league. That got shut down. They didn't want outside influences voting on the president. They wanted to keep who they wanted in place, the person that they could push around and get whatever they want from. So that's the problem with the AFL. I can spend 2 hours on an episode, and maybe I will one day, talking about all the issues that the AFL has, and there's no vision for growth from the executive. Why aren't we getting a new trophy? How many teams do you want to have? How can we market our league? How can we get league-wide sponsors? How can we expand the growth of the league? None of that. No plan, nothing. Nobody even knows who these people are. So, on to the Irish. I know this is long, but I've had too many days to stew about this. Irish, you're almost as at fault here as the league is. How do you not figure this shit out? In my opinion, from the information that I've heard, and all I can go by is the information I've heard because the league doesn't tell anybody anything ever. But the information that I've heard is you guys decided you were going to move the game to Sunday. And then when we were like, we can't play Sunday morning at 11, people have plans, people go to church, that's just not acceptable. And one of the bylaws in the league is you can't change the date and the time without the permission of the other team. The Irish went ahead and changed the game without our permission. We said we couldn't go, and then the Irish didn't care and didn't want to try to look for another field. The refs were scheduled for 2 o'clock at Shoaldice. Those same refs could have been scheduled for 2 o'clock in Strathmore, in Okotoks, in Chestermere, in Cochrane, in Lacombe, anywhere. We could have paid for the refs to come to Lacombe. There's many ways we could have done this. Instead, everybody sat on their ass and got the game canceled. Now, hopefully it gets rescheduled, but I'm sure there'll be people bitching and whining about that as well. So, in short, this was an epic, absolute disaster from the league specifically, also from the Irish, who, by the way, I've talked high about the Irish on this podcast. Again, I don't have any true biases or hate toward anyone. I just tell it how it is. I've spoke glowingly about the Irish, and I'll continue. I think Anton's running a good ship down there. But whatever happened was an epic failure by the AFL executive and the Irish, and you guys need to own up to that. I'm sick and tired of living in a society where everything is everybody else's fault. Nobody wants to take responsibility for their own actions and their own inadequacies. Figure it out. There's zero chance that you can grow as a human or as an organizer or a leader of a team if you're not willing to admit when you fucked up. So I don't want to be gaslit and told, oh, we couldn't do this, we couldn't do that. No, you fucked up. You didn't tell anybody anything, and you need to figure that out. And I'm either calling on the AFL executive to step down, all of you, go away and let other people come forward who want to actually do the job of growing the league, or come out, be transparent, and say what you're doing and what your goals are for the league. Don't go to my chairman and get mad because he can't control Tej and Tej is being mean to us on the board. When you're not being transparent, AFL executive, you leave people to guess and to assume. And that's what I do. I'm going to take the information I have and run with it. And what I've seen is complete inadequacy. Anyways, that was a long one. So I'm gonna let that go. Again, that's been stewing a little bit. Omari, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I was going to say with those last few days, I know you've had a bit of rest and everything. It's been on your mind. I'm sure it's been well thought out, but it's, I know it's definitely a dynamic that, with the flooding here in Calgary, it throws 3 teams away. So there definitely got to be some stuff that's worked out and everything, but I think it's all been handled mainly from what I've been hearing. I think Gators got a field. I know for Wolfpack, we have our field. I think we just sent Kolick the notice to where hey, we got a field coming, and all that. So it's just one of those things where it's, it'll all come together. I definitely haven't had the time to stew on it what I used to, so I'm quite unprepared in that manner of it. But it's definitely a thing where I know you get quite hot with this stuff.
Hey man, look, here's the thing. I'm a passionate guy, but the reality is like, I wouldn't change who I am for a second. The reason why I'm as good as I am at as many things as I'm good at is because I'm passionate and I care about things and I want to do things to the best of my ability, including this podcast and including being open and honest to everyone that's listening. And it's also a really good place. I'm not a journaler. My wife's a journaler. I think more women are journalers than men. This for me is like a journal. I get to come out here. I don't actually know who's listening. Here's the thing. For me, Omari, I'm just talking to you, and a couple Grand Prairie guys that are here. So for me, it's wonderful. It's beautiful. I don't know who's listening. So that's what's kind of nice about the podcast at this moment. But no, it shouldn't have happened. And it's just, if the league would have dealt with it the right way and figured this out, it's not a big deal. But I don't feel they did that, and I feel like there's a lot of growth, and I feel like they refuse to admit that there's growth, and they just want to continue getting mad at Tej because he's mean to us and calls us out on our shit. Okay, we've got to get into recapping week 1 here before we bring on our. We've got the Grand Prairie, the Peace Country Cowboys with us today, so we're excited about that. But first, let's quickly go over week 1, Omari. We'll talk about our game. What did you like from your team first game back? I know Daryl ended up playing a little bit. That kind of wasn't the plan, but what was your guys' feeling kind of after that first game when the dust settled?
Yeah, no, I thought it was a good game. Overall, like, it was a good game. We got to play football. I'll take that. It was a good game in the sense that like a lot of people got a chance to come out and play football because we had a lot of we have a few players who haven't played since 3, 4, 5 years. So it was good to get them going again. But as well with that, they also had to get going again. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of that first half was so sloppy. It was just one where we just as a team were like, hey, like this is not our potential. But I could definitely tell for you guys were a well-oiled machine. Like you guys can tell you guys been practicing, you guys have been moving the ball, had a preseason action, everything. So you've been able to go right into it. And I know one thing I was thinking about too is, I think you guys have mentioned that you guys have like in that like 30-ish range in numbers.
Yeah, on a
And
good day, 30 at practices. Yeah.
yeah.
Some
and
days 18, but
but then here's the thing that I bet you those 18 that show up, you guys can get reps in, you guys get work in, you guys get
well,
to work, which
yeah, you know what? That's a great point, Amari, because the eight, we've probably got a solid core. I would say a solid core of 20 guys that are at basically every practice. And that group is it really is like it's Tony Morelli, it's David Simons, it's Warren Stewart, it's Brett Billsma, it's Ruben Breitenbach, it's most of our O line. So we do get good work. Where we lack is obviously some 12-on-12 action, but sometimes when you're just kind of running the reps after the reps without going into 12-on-12, it can be beneficial, especially because Tony's new to football as a running back. David's brand new as a running back this year, and he's lighting it up and having a lot of success and doing good things. And then Warren Stewart's a kid that I had in high school that was a stud running back and is back this year, but got his first taste of AFL action. Yeah, it went really well. I thought, Amari, honestly, I thought you had a hell of a game, man. We struggled defending you on the run, and even though it was so obvious when you guys were going to run, because especially when you had that quarterback to start with, and we still couldn't stop you. So how did you feel on a personal level?
I felt it was like going to that game knowing that if we had Julian, his name is Julian Bond. I want to give a little shout out to him because he's fresh 18,
Yeah,
out of Forest Lawn High School. He's just one of those kids where he's a great athlete and like did play quarterback in high school just because I think that was a situation that he had to hop into, and that's the case here now with the news of Daryl and everything, and he's been just great on that front. I know it's the case too where you have Daryl's arm, then you have his arm, and like Daryl has that elite level arm because he's always played at the high level. Not saying Junior doesn't have it, but it's definitely a difference, which as a league we all respect. You guys respected it right away where you went to that two safety high,
safety look, yeah.
right? So that's definitely the commandment that Daryl brings. But with Julian, he came in, run the routes and everything. That was now where I was telling, hey, look, we're just gonna run it. We're gonna lean into the run game, and I'll help us get the first downs. I think as a backfield, we did a good job, all just trying to do our part. No one needed to like go for home runs, even though of course that's what we wanted to, but just skinning first downs, keeping it moving, which I felt we did a good job driving the ball, but of course we couldn't finish, which I think that's where we lacked in that not having preseason extra reps or live run reps, which that's week one things, and we go from there. And I know we're a little behind on like everything that's catching the AFL, and like when we get to week two, we'll dive into that because that's a whole other can of worms that we'll dive into. But for week one, I was happy with it, but I knew there's way more potential there.
Yeah, and I felt the same for you guys. I thought that playing quarterback against you guys, I thought there was some good defensive play. You had some good linebacker play. Your D line, the D line takes a little bit to get into. I think they struggled a little bit, but your offense did move the ball. And I think there was a time where I think you were on the 10 and it was an unfortunate fumble. Tony Morelli came in and drilled the guy and he fumbled it on like the 10. You guys were right close. And then I think we went and scored on that drive. So football is a funny game that way, right? Like I thought your offense for the most part was, even with Julian, was moving it pretty well. And then when Daryl came in, you threw two nice touchdown passes. So that was good to see. It was good to see him suited up. I think that you're right. I think playing the Gators in a preseason game really kind of got us ready to play football, even though it was 4 weeks before. But it's still like playing the Gators in a preseason game where you're hitting full speed. Definitely helped our guys. And I think for us, we have so many options to run the football. Whether it be me, Tony Morelli, David Simons, Warren Stewart. We also picked up another running back, junior guy who's going to be debuting this week, named Tristan Kohler, and he played for the Lakers here, the Sylvan Lakers before my time, and then went on to the Edmonton Wildcats, and is now a bylaw officer here in Sylvan Lake. And so I actually coach his younger brother right now on the HJ Cody Lakers, and he's really good too. So we've now got 4 really good running backs, and I don't know if you played much defense there, Omari, if you did or not, but Tony Morelli is he is tough to handle. He is tough to handle. He is tough to tackle.
Yeah, he's definitely a load. No Diddy.
Yeah.
I love like I had a chat with Tony after where I was like telling him like, hey man, I'm gonna send you that therapy bill for the guy you just drilled. Where I know we chatted in that last episode with like how therapy's done.
Yeah.
We stole so much money from therapists.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you can always like appreciate the mentality that, you know, guys like Tony bring, where I'm here to have fun. I'm you know, I work out, got big arms, I run the ball, and like, you know, you can't fault just like him having fun. I could always tell the way he's running, and like,
Yeah.
you know, there's always a smile under his chin and under his face mask where like he's just having fun and balling, which
Okay.
That's
such a great observation that you made. That Tony is smiling at all times. Like that guy, it doesn't matter. He's having a great time when he plays football. It's honestly inspirational. He is just, because I struggle with that. Like when I am having fun at all times, but I'm also extremely fiery. So like, I don't know if I smile a whole lot when I play football, like between the whistles, but Tony will be smiling mid-run. Tony will be laughing mid-run, like literally laughing mid-run. I'm not even joking. He will laugh. He will cheer when people block for him as he's running. Last year, I blocked for him when I was playing receiver last year, and all I heard behind me was yes, Teej, yes, Teej. The play was still going on. And he was like congratulating me because I was blocking this guy, and he was still running. He's a different animal. I'm so glad he's on our team. I do have a quick story, a really cool story from that game actually. So David's a friend of mine, lives in Sylvan Lake. Didn't start playing football. He's 33 now. Didn't start playing football till he was 31. 2 years ago with the Bucks was his first year when I was on the Wolfpack. And so he's very new to football. He played linebacker. This year he's like, I want to play some running back. So he came in and he's been doing a really good job. Great blocker, and he actually has great hands. Like he can catch. And he'd hurt it. He's had some injury issues. He hurt his shoulder early in that game, and he came to me and he's like, he'd never played offense, never had a touchdown. He's like, Teach, I just really want a touchdown. Like I think my career might be over. Like my shoulder just popped out again. I just want a touchdown so bad. So we called a run play for him on the 5-yard line, and you guys stuffed it. And I was like, fuck. And then I was like, you know what? We're running, it's called 12-21 H snake. And so we put him as the H back, and we run him on basically a Texas route and as a fullback. And so, you know, I give a play action, linebackers bite. I see that the safety bites. I'm like, oh, he's wide open, perfect. I throw the ball. As soon as I throw it, I'm like, oh shit, I overthrew him. I just overthrew him. Like literally it's in the air. It's like slow motion. All of a sudden, he leaps like Superman. Full dive, reaches his hands out. There's a picture of it. It's insane. Reaches his hands out, tips the ball with his fingertips. Superman leaped, catches the football for a touchdown. One of the best touchdown catches I've ever seen in my life. And he'd never got, and all we want to do is get this guy a touchdown. I thought I overthrew him. Makes one of the best catches I've ever seen in his life. There's a picture of him, full Superman, catching this football. And it was just one of the happiest and best moments of my football life. There was a little bit like when I hugged him in the end zone after he got lifted up by Tony. There was a little bit of like teary-eyed action because it was just really emotional moment. So do you remember, did you see that catch?
I did see that catch because I like saw it and I was like, oh, because I actually saw it and I was like, I thought he dropped it. And I was like, ooh, because I saw the like touch overthrown. And I saw it come up with this like, man.
Dude, it was not a touch overthrown. Like, I thought I overthrew him by like 4 or 5 yards. As soon as that ball left my hand, I was like, I'm an idiot. And then this guy, and again, everyone listening, he's never played offense in his life. And the only offense he had played up until that point was basically blocking with like a few runs. And the guy went full wide receiver Superman leap to catch. That's how bad he wanted that touchdown. Honestly, it was one of the most inspirational things I've ever seen in football because that man wanted it so badly. And he was hurt. You have to understand, he also had a calf injury. So he had a calf injury. He could barely walk, and it popped his shoulder out. and he went full Superman to make one of the greatest catches I've ever seen in my life for a touchdown. So that was a really cool moment of the game. So just like a lot of special things happen in football. I think overall, I think it was a good game for both teams to kind of to get into that week 1 mix. And we'll talk about your week 2 matchup here in a little bit. But before we do,
I mean the boxing match we went in and actually got clobbered on.
yeah, someone posted that. That was good. The other, so we'll quickly touch on Gators and Jets. So I've watched a little bit of the film. I haven't dove into it too deeply because we don't play either of those teams right away. But what was your initial reaction when you saw that score? I think I guess I was surprised, not because the Gators won, but because they won by so much. What was your kind of initial thought when you saw the score?
Yeah, that was. I first heard the score. We just came in from the field. Right, all right. Like first thing I think a lot of players do is like, hey, how the other games going?
Yeah,
and then I think I heard and I was like 55, and I was expecting to hear like 55, 53, or like
like shootout. Yeah,
shootout, like a shootout style. And I saw the discrepancy in the score, and I was like, oh, okay. And that's now where I was like, okay, with that now, the power rankings have changed. There's been a shift in power, which I was just like, oh shit. And of course, guys were asking, like some of the new guys were like, oh no, like, what do we do? And like some of the new players and everything that we have. And I was like, well, boys, just know that there's a power shift happening in the league right now. And, Gators have the full swing, full momentum. I know Cole Lake is hungry to get it. And this is now where this kind of ties into this week, I guess, for week 3, which do you want to touch more on week 3 or just want to keep more week 1 right now?
We can touch on week 3. Why not?
Week 3 a little bit? Yeah, I'll touch a little bit for week 3 to where now, this is now for Wolfpack and Jets. This is going to be a game because the Jets who've now had to watch film on that game for 2 weeks, hear about it, all the chat, all that stuff. And now they're going to come down to, we're playing in Cochrane here, and hey, they're going to show out. So for the Jets who are listening, hey, we're going to be ready. And for the Wolfpack listening, hey, we got to be ready. So that's just something here now too, where I think if anything, if it had to happen, probably had to happen like year 3 in their dynasty. Because I was like thinking of the story, like thinking of this in like the Michael Jordan-esque of it, where like win it back to back, no problem. And then year 3 comes, new opponent, new defender, new something comes up, and it's a new challenge to see them rise over. And so, if this is now going to be in the story of how Cole Lake goes for the dynasty, it's such a great story for him. If it's the case too where the Gators come in and, uproot dynasty, then that's also a great story there. So I'm eagerly excited to see the next round because, funny enough, at the Edmonton game, a lot of the Cole Jets were there. Got to talk with Teague and just hearing how, his thoughts on the games and what they plan to bring for next time is going to be an interesting round 2. And as of course, with a high caliber team like that gets beat, just honestly quite bad in sense of the score. They're going to be hungry for it coming next, which is definitely one thing which I think is a new challenge for them to see.
Yeah, and I think I talked to Rayshawn a little bit after the game, and I know he was disappointed in himself as a great competitor is going to be if he feels like he doesn't play up to his potential. I'll say this: definitely don't sleep on him. Don't sleep on the Jets. Obviously, the Gators are a very good team. Rayshawn is coming off a pretty bad injury. Hadn't played quarterback for a while. Getting used to it. Not a lot of practice time. So I expect him to do what he does and recover from that and figure it out. I'm looking forward to playing with Rashawn in the national championships of 5v5 flag football in Kamloops in a couple weeks. Him and I are going up there as well with another Jet, Ev Jackson, going up there to represent Team Alberta in the Canadian National Flag Football Championship. So that'll be a lot of fun. He's going to be good. He's got to get his feet under him a little bit, and I'm sure he's going to be extra motivated. So it's kind of shitty for you guys because you're kind of getting the wrath of Cold Lake's anger coming into Calgary now. But hopefully you guys can give him a game, and hopefully you can stick with it. Is Daryl planning on playing that game? Like did he play all the elite?
He played half of it. So I guess he caught just one of the hits. One of the hits he took, just I guess it was close to the area that the surgery happened. So He just is taking some precaution right now.
Right.
So as of right now, it's looking like, if I had to, I guess, disclose some information there, it's looking like it's going to be 20% Daryl, and then either I'll keep this hidden to either Julian or other quarterback.
Right.
And then go
Right.
from
The other
there.
guy was pretty good. The other guy had a good arm when he
Yes,
came in.
yes, Memphis has a great arm. So this is now where I don't make the calls. I don't make the calls on this, but I guess there'll be a call decision on who's going to take the start there. I have my. This is now where I'm going to keep a little secrecy to where like I have my preference on who I want to have start because it helps align us a bit better for other things. But I hope that even with Daryl, I think a couple of keys for that game. We got to stick to the run. That's going to be something we lean on. And I guess from the first game, I know I had a good game on there. Edmonton game, I didn't get to do much, and then third game, we're going to have to really try and establish that to at least have a chance to move the ball down the field and everything. That's what I'm thinking. Just put everything on that side, but we'll course.
You got to possess the ball against that team and hopefully keep their offense off the field as much as you can.
Yeah, have to. It's like the Peyton Manning kind of thing where like, hey, you have to limit the ball in his hands.
That's what, for us on the Bucks, that's what we're basically trying to do. I don't think it's no secret. I'm not a drop back pocket passer. It's definitely not my strength. So we're going to run the ball. We're going to attempt. We were probably 60% run, 30% pass against you guys. I think more because of game script, the way the game was going. We do want to be able to pass the football a little bit more. We've got some really good receivers across the board. So we're hoping to really do that and balance it out. But I like it because it's teams have to respect our run. We've got 4 studs plus myself that can run the football, and then we've got a really good group of receivers: Ruben Breitenbach, Brett Bilsma, Devin Klumpenhauer, and Josh Weeb, and Josh Thomas mixing in there as well. So we need to be a little bit more balanced. But we're kind of the same thing. Like we want to possess the football and keep our defense off the field. Keep the ball as long as we can. We'll quickly, before we move on to the Cowboys introduction, we'll quickly just talk about week 1 Elite Irish. I watched the film, pretty scrappy game, pretty ugly game as far as football is considered, but to be expected in the first game. I will say this. Obviously, I talk a lot of crap about the Elite, mostly because I think it's silly. They don't want to come on the podcast and help their team grow and help the league grow. I think it's silly. But again, that's not the players. I know there's a lot of players on the team that would like to come on the podcast, but they're not allowed. I will say this though. Their old jerseys were terrible and their new jerseys are awesome. So the Elite got new jerseys this year and they are awesome. I love them. I love everything about them. That's how they should have been all the time. So whoever made that decision made a great decision. Absolutely love the new Elite jerseys. And there are some super studs on that team. Like DN number 9 is like a problem. Like that guy is a problem.
Oh yeah.
And then they've got like a 300-pound D tackle. That guy's a problem. Their linebackers number 40. I believe his name is Blake. Wears white gloves all the time. Phenomenal player, really good player. And they got a couple DBs. My boy Terrell down there, corner, was number 12 last year, I believe, number 0 this year. Super stud corner, does everything well, makes it difficult to pass the ball because he reads the game so well. He reads the field so well. He's able to break on routes. He's able to cover the deep routes. Had a pretty sick pick. I believe it was him against you guys, kind of like over the shoulder, deep pass, looked like a receiver. And so that team's going to be a challenge all year for everybody. They're good. They're finally, I think, as good as they should be in Edmonton. The new quarterback looks pretty good. Looks young and looks like he needs a little bit, experience, but makes good decisions with the football. Their O-line is good. Their D-line's phenomenal. Honestly, I think Edmonton's D-line might be the best in the league. So I'm not super looking forward to that this week. I'm not going to lie. But, that number 9 in my face is a little bit scary. So I apologize, number 9. I don't know your name, but you are a hell of a player, and you show up on film like that Elite team is. I think they're much better than the Irish. I think if they play at the end of the season, the Elite probably smoke them. But good on them for getting the win, starting 2-0, and that Elite team is going to be one to be reckoned with. It would obviously you played them this week. You would probably agree to that.
Oh yeah, it's that was a completely different team from the film. Like completely different. Just like we knew, like, okay, the D line and everything, but again, it didn't help with Daryl like coming out. And there's a few things on our end we got to sort out there. But when I was like on the sideline watching, I was like, man, like this is the way I described it was in our league, and I think we'll dive into some more because it'd be a good chat to have with I think Grand Prairie guests here, is where there's like a men's level side to it. We're like, hey, we're a men's team and everything, but there's also the semi-pro side, and that's the semi-pro team. If anything, like I would 100% say like some semi-pro defense,
Yeah.
just with like, and that's what I
Yeah, they're legit.
So that's like I can like say like, hey, like the front four was fast, all athletes there. I think it was 99. It was 9, yeah, 99 or something. Like I remember Daryl threw a pick and I peeled off to try and make a tackle, and then 99, I guess he cracked back block. I think he got called on it there, but like I don't know. Like I saw the film, and I saw you just looped around Daryl and came up and was okay. But all just guys who all fly around, definitely challenging. And I think it's kind of unfortunate. I believe number 9, he had to have played somewhere high level in the States or somewhere, and I'm like,
yeah, I think I think he's an Edmonton Husky. I think he played Edmonton, like on the I think he played on like the really good Edmonton Huskies teams that were like really good for a couple years ago. I believe so. Yeah, I know he's I think he's the best D lineman in the league. That you're right. That defense is not to be messed with. And it'll be a challenge for us this week. I think the Irish. I don't know. I think the Irish are fourth in the league right now. I think it's probably Gators, Jets, Elite as the top 3. Probably Gators is the top 1, and I think the Elite will give the Jets a run for their money. Now, of course, it's football; anyone can win on any given day. But I like what I've seen from the Elite so far. I really do. I think that, and I'm happy to see it. Right, as much as I talk shit, it's really just because they won't come on the podcast, and it annoys me. But the reality is I want to see a good team in Edmonton. A good team in Edmonton is good for the league. And whoever's now kind of running the show down there is doing a good job because they have super studs everywhere. And that's the way that it should be. And their uniforms are awesome. And they're going to cause a challenge for a lot of teams. And so, good on them. I got to give credit where credit is due. And I don't see a ton of flaws on that team. And even though it's early in the year, there's a lot of people that fill spots really, really well. Okay. I'm not going to get too much on the Irish because I'm a little sour at them right now. I think that they're the fourth team in the league right now, maybe 5th. I'm never going to talk about my own team. I always think my team can win on every given day. So I'll keep my own team out of the rankings. But the Elite are very good. The Irish, I don't think, are as good as we maybe thought they were going to be. I don't know if I'll ever find that out because I don't know if I'll ever get to play them. Hopefully I do. And hopefully we can work that out. All right. Grand Prairie guests have been waiting ever so patiently as we try to catch up on the podcast. So with us from the Peace Country Cowboys, we've got Chad Weeb, we've got Will Quintel. Will is a super veteran. Him and I go way, way back to the early 2010s Drillers Bucks rivalry where we seem to lose to the Drillers every single year in the playoffs. So it's good to have you both here. We'll start with you, Chad. We'll get into your game that you just played, but before that, let's pretend you haven't played that game yet. How's the team looking? What's the kind of morale around the group? Like, how have you guys been able to build the team since you came back into the league 2 years ago? It looks from our end that things are going pretty well.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys having us. This is going into year 3 for us, and it's just building blocks. I think we have a different build. Like, I think it's very similar to the Bucks, as in they're all local guys working. Right. It's not, we don't have these superstar, just football guys. This is a working man's league. And that identity really strings through the team. And that's why I love it. Like the defense every year 1, I still think about it's like
phenomenal defense.
And it just gets better every year, I think. And then the mentality is different. Like every team has their own mentality, but I actually really liked the little video thing with Captain America or whatever. Cause that's just it. Like, I don't really think it matters what the score is or what it is. Like the guys just want to smack someone. And that's even the group behind them, the young guys that are trying again, have the exact same mentality, even if they don't have the technique down. I don't think we're the cleverest, like in Grand Prairie, we joked about it with Will, but I don't really care. Like we're there to smack them in the mouth and be the tougher team. And that's the identity that I believe we have.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I remember because your first year in the league was when I was playing with Omari on the Wolfpack, and I think we won the game like 30-0. But I remember leaving that game and Omari and I talked about it, was like, that defense is legit. Like you guys couldn't do much offensively at that time, but that defense was legit. And then last year it took a step forward. And I'm only going to assume that this year it's going to take another step forward. So, and I mean, that's where it all starts, right? is with the defense. So talk to me a little bit about, and Will, I'll get to you in a second here, but Chad, talk to me a little bit. I know you signed bringing back Nathan Aldred. I know he didn't play this past week. Is he still planning on playing with you guys?
Well, I'm not sure. Oh, there we go. I was going to leave that question for Will, so go ahead.
Go ahead, Will.
Okay, maybe I seen him on mute.
You got to unmute yourself, Will. It's that Grand Prairie cleverness, you know? Will has been having troubles with this all day. So,
well, I'll tell you what. I'm just going to say F it. I'm calling him. I think the science experiment of him using this is over.
Yeah, we're gonna get Will Quintel on the phone here.
Will,
you know what?
Will, here we go. I'm just gonna let you take this question here. They're asking what's going on with Nate this year.
What's going on with Nate, Will?
I think with Nate, it comes down to just freak injury happens, and he got busy in life, and he wants to be a part of the team. He's trying to find time, and like myself, I'd love to see number 7 in the uniform again. He's probably one of the best quarterbacks ever to play in this league.
For sure.
Still very competitive, but I think we'll just let it kind of figure itself out. And if he shows up, he shows up. If he doesn't, that sucks for us because, he's a good quarterback. But moving forward, I think we just kind of put it on the back burner for a little bit till he decides if he can make the full commitment again. Because if Nate's in, he's all in. He's not going to be half of a teammate, half of a player, right? He wants to be there 100% of the time, all the time. But Grand Prairie in this industry, right? Once you find yourself a career, that's where we lack as a football team, keeping players around because of the money.
Right. Right. And you know what? For those that don't know, Nathan Aldred played in this league for a long time, won back-to-back national championships with the Edmonton Huskies before moving on to the Grand Prairie Drillers, and came also very close to winning a national championship with the Grand Prairie Drillers. In a couple years, I think you guys had teams that definitely could have done it. And he was a menace to play against. Like he was a guy that you could not sack. He got out of everything. He was the most slippery guy I think I've ever played against, and he made throws that many people cannot make. So I would agree with you on that, Will, that he's definitely one of the best quarterbacks to ever play in this league. I think he's right up there, with the Darrell Leasons of the world as far as like what he did. And for me personally, having played against him for a number of years and then have him unfortunately have that neck injury that he had, I would love to see him back. So if you're listening, Nate, I know there's a lot of us kind of old schooler guys that have been around for a long time that would love to see you back. I think it makes the league better. I think it makes Grand Prairie better, which is always good. So hopefully you guys can figure that out. But it is a part of it, right? That's a part of being a pay to play league, and I've tried to recruit a bunch of guys, and that's been their reason of not playing too. Is like I can't risk getting hurt. You know what we should do, Omari? I think Chad used to be a part of something like this, but we should, who we should get as a sponsor is like an insurance company that can sponsor people for when they get injured. And so then that pays their work. Because there are things like that out there that exist. You can get like personal injury liability. So if there's anyone that runs a company like that, get on we get 200 to 300 downloads. That's individual downloads. It's usually, they say it's about 2 or 3 times more listeners because people will listen together. So we have a lot of reach, and this is for all sponsors. But if you're an insurance company and you want to sponsor football players, let us know because that's out there. And then we can get guys like Nathan Aldred to play. Hey, Will, I want to ask you. So you've kind of you were Grand Prairie. I think you went to the Irish for a little bit. What really brought you back to Grand Prairie?
Yeah, I played a couple years with Airdrie. I just think it's the brotherhood, and it's hard to find the dog that Grand Prairie brings to a team, right? Everyone that knows me, a part of the league, I'm always been one to like to hit people in the face, right? Yeah. And if I'm running downfield as fast as my old ass will go, excuse my language, I hope the guy beside me, especially if he's younger than me, is doing the same thing. But some teams, I'm not going to say all teams, but some teams, especially in the men's league, some guys are like, I don't want to get hurt. I got to work Monday. But in Grand Prairie, I think that causes, the brain cells we lack in Grand Prairie. Too much oil and gas up here. So I think away from the brain cells. So we will all just run down the field 100 miles an hour. And, like everyone says when they play us, like we won't give up. we will hit you every play if we get the chance. And there'll be 5 or 6 of us coming 100 miles an hour. So you probably just want to fall, because if you don't, some of us might even take a UR because we don't know how to save contact yet, right? That's how we are.
Yeah.
Now.
You know what? I can attest to all of that. I've been a victim of a few of your hits in my life. Well, and here's the thing. I love Will. I think he's a great guy. I hate you on the football field, Will. I hate you because you are exactly like that, and you don't care. 15 yards, we're down 30-0. Who cares about 15 yards down 30-0? I'm taking that. I'm hitting you out of bounds. I don't give a fuck. And so, I hate you on the field, but I love you as a person. I think, and I think Grand Prairie fits your personality very well.
Yeah, it's like I was saying, right? Like, it's the team. Like, we're there. You know what I mean? And we just all love the game of football, right? Like, we don't have the numbers that Calgary have. We don't have the numbers that Edmonton has. We don't, you know what I mean? We don't have the finances that Cold Lake has, or however get all these superstar football players. We don't have that in Grand Prairie, which is crazy because of all the money. But it's like a lot of people won't buy into senior men's football in Grand Prairie, and I don't get it. And I wish the community would buy back into it, like the Drillers, because we used to have a lot of community support. Yes, we always have our fans, and they won't leave us, but it's just the dog in the guys. Like, it's the CTE that everyone wants on the team, right? Like, let's go and smash people type of deal, right? And I'll argue the thing that I do think our D-line might be one of the best D-lines in the league, if not the best, and they're only get better every day. And that's kind of where I stand on the Grand Prairie side of just being a part of. And like I said, I'm out here right now not coaching Adams because I'm on this podcast, but I want to give back to football in Grand Prairie, to give back to the old days of winning a lot. And like I've heard you say a lot, Tej, on the podcast, you're surprised that Grand Prairie's never won a league championship, right? And I'm surprised too. Like, we used to be crazy. Like 20, 25 of us would go down and we would smoke people in the Drillers days, right? And I want to get back to that, right? And it's like Chad and Kai Cluett and guys like themselves that are building football in Grand Prairie again is great.
Yeah, and you know what? I can attest to that too. My very first year on the Bucks, 2010, you guys came with Nathan Aldred and Simon Fow, and with 18 dudes, and beat us by 30. So I remember that. I remember that vividly. Literally 18. I was like, and it was my first year in the league. I'm like, what is this joke? 18 players? Like, this is gonna be the easiest game I've ever played. We lost by 30. So, that has happened. I've experienced that. And I want to see success in the league, and Grand Prairie being successful is a part of that. Even if it's not right away on the scoreboard, you guys having a sustainable team that people are coming and you're working your asses off, I think is a true testament to what you guys are doing down there. The reality is a team like Grand Prairie shouldn't be competing with a team like Edmonton or a team like Calgary. The population it's not even fair, but somehow you guys, you've done that over the years. Chad, I got to ask you, I don't know if you ever played with Simon Fowl, but what's he doing these days?
Oh, he played for us a little bit last year. And
oh, did he?
Yeah. Okay. So he's still around, and there's no saying he won't play for us this year. Like, I
love Simon. So Simon's one of Nathan and Simon might have been the top two duos that I've ever played against. I think Daryl and his brother Mike were pretty good there for a while, but Nathan and Simon were something else. Simon was ridiculous. Chad, let's talk about your game this week. So what were your kind of expectations going in? You're obviously playing what probably is the number one team in the country right now in game one, traveling all that way. What were your expectations? And then what were your thoughts on the game itself?
It's funny, like, say 48 hours before, I think I was probably being realistic. And then as you get closer to it, you just start to be any given Sunday type thoughts. And that really leaked into I'm not even saying leaked in, that was just generic consensus. We believed we could win that game. Mm-hmm. And those that followed it, if we just had small pieces, that was a close game. Mm-hmm. Like, the score was not the reality. They were up, it was 14-2 with like 3 minutes left in the third.
Right. Wow. So and it was like 2-0 like after the first.
No, yeah, it was much closer. Now that's a good team. We have a lot of room to grow. There was a lot of young guys. We had 3 guys on the O-line that was the first game of their entire life, and that was a rude awakening. So, wow. so there's things like that we're going to grow.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of the guys, and I feel like the resilience and the positivity, like we're building it the right way. So the expectations as it came before, obviously I was probably thinking more realistic. Then I was like, we can do this. Like there's just this happened. We picked up a certain guy. I was like, yeah, you know what? We've got this. There's a chance. And obviously reality happened, and that is a really good team, and I would rank them on the top, and kudos to them. But I'm proud of our guys, and I think we performed well, and I'm looking forward to this year. I do think this is the best team we've put on a field yet, and we're just growing. And
Yeah.
I don't know. You're talking about these other big cities, but and kudos to Edmonton. I love the rebuild and Cold Lake or whatever. And I've heard that a lot of Cold Lake's local. True or not true, I have no idea. If it is, good for them. But like Edmonton getting so much from the States, one day like a person running the team leaves, it's so much work to recruit a team like that
Yeah.
it could be gone tomorrow. So when you build it with just local young guys and a culture, then these teams can sustain. And I hope that all the teams do that. But that's the thing I see when I see all these Americans and these imports or whatever. Well, you stop winning, those guys aren't going to travel.
Yeah, that's actually, you know what, no one's ever really brought that point up, but I think that's a great point, right? If you're looking, I think bringing in a lot of imports, and especially guys from the States, that is an incredibly short-term thing. And it's definitely no way to build a long-term success. And I think, in my opinion, and one of the reasons why I thought about maybe joining the Gators this year, maybe joining the Irish, had some small conversations. I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. And what it came down for me was, yeah, I'd love to win. I obviously the Gators are poised to win a national championship. The Bucks were rebuilding, we're young. But what it came down to for me is, I want to play with a bunch of guys that are like me, that are local guys that work hard, that want to be a Buck. Like I've been a Buck now for 13 years. It means everything to me. I love the Buck. I am a Buck inside and out. I did play 1 year for the Pack. It felt super weird. I enjoyed my time, and the other reason was, what does winning a championship for me with the Calgary Gators mean to me? I don't think it means anything. It just means I jumped onto a team that I think I can contribute to, but it means I jumped onto a team with a lot of guys I don't know, guys that I haven't battled with, guys that I don't really care about, and so for me,
right with you.
Yeah.
I didn't even stay for the after party. I honestly didn't feel it. I just was like,
yeah,
okay, it's exactly right.
Yeah. And that's exactly it, right? It's just not, for me in 2021, winning that championship was one of the most special moments of my life, not because we won a championship, but because of who I won a championship with, and who I had played with before that was so happy that the Bucks had won a championship. That's what will stick with me for the rest of my life. When I look at that ring, I think to myself, the people that I won it with and the people who I played with that kind of were a part of that as well, and part of the brand. And so I think that's such an important point, and again, kudos to Edmonton for building that team, but it isn't the same. Those guys, there a lot of the guys that come as imports, and this is not a shot at them, this is just reality. Again, I just tell the truth. They're in it for themselves more than they are for anything else. They're in it to advance their career. They're in it to go to the next level. It's not about, hey, I want to come be a part of this team and win a championship. I think for the most part, definitely not as far as like a guy like myself or a guy like Will, who's played for GP for so long. Omari, got anything for these guys?
Yeah, I guess first thing I'll say, just wanted to hop in when you were saying with the insurance company to sponsor on the insurance side. I am like financial broker, so that is like what I do, and I know it's the case too. Where I guess to kind of semi plug myself to where if anyone is looking for disability insurance, as a great option that I've done in the past, just with guys from Wolfpack to Irish players to I think a few even players outside like. There is injury insurance there, so a little small plug there. I might do a big one in the middle of the episode here, there and so. But question now here for you, Chad. What do you think's kind of been your superpower building and growing this team?
Ooh. Yeah, I don't know if superpower. Like it depends any given week, right? It's exhausting. Like every year, then it comes into the beginning of the year. I'm like, am I doing this again? Do I like even want to do this again? And then it's like, I don't know if it's a young guy's excitement or if it's before week one. Obviously, I love it. I think men's football is the best. It's better than high school, or it's the same. It's like it's better than junior and university and anything else, though. I'd attest to that for sure. I just love it. And the idea of if theoretically I left and nobody picked up the reins and it died, it's like you just said, it's a part of you. And I've put, so much time in the last 2 to 3 years that I just don't think I could let that happen. And I would feel sad for those young guys that, this is their first year of football or second. I've got a lot of guys where this is their third year, but they've only ever played for the Cowboys. So it's just, this is them, this is there. And I just can't let that go. And I don't know if I'm here for 1 more year or 6 more years, but for now, it's really just those young guys and giving them the opportunity. And it's a brotherhood. Like we were talking about getting the community support. It's, what other sport is there? Like this is like high school football, every movie you ever seen, when it ends, right? Oh, this is it. Leave it on the field. There's nothing else. We get this, right?
Yeah.
It's a gift. This doesn't exist in most places. And I just think that's special that we could have that camaraderie, family aside from it. Even if one day you do eventually retire, you're still going to be a Buck and you're still going to be a part of the program. You're still going to care. And so, yeah, the superpower, I don't know how long I can keep it going. I don't know if I would call it a superpower. I've actually dubbed this season God season. I don't know if Will's sick of it. Probably texted to him 3 times a day. Because it's just coming together this year. Most years I put in more, and the things this year, like, we're short helmets, and a program like the Sexsmith Sabres, give them a shout out. We're like, hey, we got these 15 helmets that we can give you. And that just came out of the blue. So we've had some maybe supernatural support this year as well.
That's awesome. And Will, a question for you now, because I've always heard stories, and I guess now, like, is it so far in the past now to where it's like considered like legend lore? Because I'd always hear the stories of like, the Grand Prairie team coming down with 18, 20 guys, clap whoever they're playing and go back up. Like you'd have these full rosters. So I want to hear more about like what was the mentality of a team like that, and like what would you say to inspire low numbered teams that have to, travel like that, where they're low and, think they can do it, but yet do they know there's a rich history of teams or of the drillers that would do this exact thing? Low number guys go and put a beating on a team and drive up to where they got to go.
I'd say the big thing in the past when we were those, low numbered teams was you go back to the same thing in Grand Prairie, right? You have a brotherhood just of guys that will literally go out on a Saturday night to anywhere in Alberta, wherever it was, and we wouldn't take no for an answer, and we wouldn't care. You run at us 100 miles an hour, we run at you 100 miles an hour. We're going to hit you harder and you're going to hurt more, but we're not going to give up, right? So it was like, just because you have some teams with lower numbers doesn't mean, you're not out of a fight in a football game unless you take yourself out of it. If you take yourself out of the game and you tell yourself, oh, we only got 18 guys, we're not going to win, you're probably not going to win. But in our heads, we always said, we have 18 guys, but we're the best 18 guys we could put on a football field together, and we're going to go win, right? It was just the mentality in the whole group, right? And you start seeing it in Grand Prairie, like on the Cowboys again, right? Like you have that mentality, like, okay, if we only have 20 guys that could play football and want to play football, we're going to go ride at those 20 guys, and we're not going to give up, right? So, yes, we had all the right pieces in the right spots. We had, the Nathan Aldrids, we had the Simon Fowles, we had, 5 O-linemen that were legit big O-linemen that went out and hit people in the face. But it was like, we are the best 18 and we are going to win, right? So, like, I would say to any team, though, even if you have 40 or 50 guys, like, don't take yourself out of the fight, because if you take yourself out of it from day one and you don't think you're going to win, then you're probably not going to win. But if you have the mentality of winning, you could surprise some people, right? Like, so.
No, that's a great answer. And, I feel like it's such a, like, hearing that, I definitely think it goes into like the legend lore, because I feel like right now, teams that go in with low numbers, I think they won't say they count themselves out, but you can see it. And, I want you just to, add a little coaching point or a little like lore if you wanted to, like, what was like a real defining factor on the mentality that you guys brought with you in that time of the drillers era?
The deciding factor, like coaching wise, and it was another thing, and it's a tough thing for, Teeth could probably answer this question, or Chad, or yourself, Amari. It's like, it's very hard to find mentally coaches, because if you have coaches that don't know as much as the men on the team, are the men really going to listen? Probably not, right? So back in the day, we were pretty much just like a player coach type of thing, right? Nate called the offense, his brother Amos called the defense, and we would listen to them because that's all we had, right? Moving forward, though, some of our other dynasty years, we had someone like Trevor Pritchard that runs a very good program at St. Joe's, the Catholic school in Grand Prairie. If you can't find proper coaches that your team's going to buy into, sometimes, riding with the player coaches like Teej himself, he runs the offense at the Bucks. I run a lot of the defense over here sometimes, and I help out with the offense. Just, being coachable still at an old age is it's hard to do, but try to be coachable, right? Where, in the dynasty years, we were coachable amongst each other, right? Because we didn't have nobody else, right? Mm-hmm. So don't think you know everything in the game just because you've been playing it for 26 seasons like myself. I don't know everything. If I did, I'd be Bill Belichick or somebody like that, right? So just be coachable and enjoy the game of football. Like, that's why we're all here. We love the sport. We all love football, and we're all gifted to be able to play football still.
Nice.
Yeah, great advice.
And my last quote, and this would be like a roundhouse one for everybody here. Now, just hearing this, because this is now, I guess I had this thought here as we were driving, as I was on the road here last 2 weeks here. Would you rather have a team that, let's just say 20, let's say, would you have a low number team, under 25 players who are all bought in, or a full roster of 65, finances are good, you don't just, all the budgeting and all is nice, but you have a variation of buy-in. Some guys are high, some are low, and like it's up and down. Which one would you rather take to play on? And I'll let Chad, I'll let you answer this one, then Tej, and then Will, and just want to hear what
I think it depends on perspective. As a player, I think I want to be on the 25-man team. As the guy running the team and the stress with getting 25 guys to the field and all that shit, it feels pretty nice. You have 65 guys, your finances in order, life seems smooth. But 100%, if we're talking a player's perspective, I want to be with the guys that are all in, and I just look at all those guys knowing they're going to put it all out there like me, kind of deal.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Will, for yourself?
I'm on the same page as Chad. I would, if I could build a football team right now and somebody said to me, pick 25 guys, I would put the 3 other guys on this podcast. Why? Because I know you guys love football just as much as me. So, all set in, it's like, yeah, 65 guys is cool, but those 25 guys, they want to be there with you. So it's like, you can never knock that. And it's, you have some of the teams in this league with big numbers, and you have them falling apart right now. And it's like, why are they falling apart? Why are people leaving? Why don't people want to stay, right? I don't get it. So, you ride with the 25 guys that love football. Guess what? If you're in a back alley against 60 guys, those 25 guys are going to be behind you and backing you up no matter where you are in life. So I'd go with 25.
Yeah, I think those are both really good answers, thought out. Will, I got to say, for someone that says his brain cells are super dead all the time, you've given some like really in-depth kind of philosophical, well, I can't speak today. You've given some really like deep answers, man.
The way I present myself and I act on a football field, it's not my everyday life. I run a business and, I coach 7, 8, 9-year-olds out in football. I help out with the high school in town, It's just a switch in me where I turn to play football. It's like, let's turn the switch off. You're not being a business guy no more. You're being a football player. And I'm not like you. I'm not pretty. And, so I got to be hard-nosed and be gritty. So that's kind of where I turn the switch off when it comes to football. And in life, I got to turn it back on, because if I went for a business meeting with, I do a lot of work for Arc Oilfield. It's one of the biggest oilfield companies in Canada. If I went to work for them and presented myself like I did on a football field, they'd probably tell me my sandwich is in the shed and get going home.
You know what? First of all, that's one of the nicest things you've ever said to me, calling me pretty. So I'm going to take that. Second of all, I appreciate that a ton. I'm similar in that way too. if somebody only knows me from like playing with me on Bucks football, they would think a lot differently than I am the other 90% of my life. So I like that. I think that's what makes good football players, when you're able to have that switch. And I think that's what makes good humans too, when you're able to kind of like not transform, don't be different, be genuine. But when your own genuine is also, matched to what situation you're in is good. Back to that question, Omari, I think for me, like, yeah, I think I'm on the 25 buy-in, just because you know what you're going to get. I think if you have 65 guys on a team, it becomes to the point where a lot of those guys are going to either quit or become cancers, right? Because a lot of those guys are going to think they're going to start and then they won't. So they're either going to quit and you're going to lose them anyways, or they're going to become cancers and toxic on the team. If you gave me the choice to have 25 guys that I knew were bought in, like I mean, that's basically where we are with the Bucks, and I would take what we have on the Bucks all day long over a roster of 65 wishy-washy guys that were in it for me. And we've got a guy on our team named Josh Thomas who drives from Edmonton basically every practice and has for like years now. He's not like, and I don't think he'll be upset that I said this, he's not like the most talented football player in the world. He's not bad either. Like, he can do some good things. I don't think he's started very much in his life, but the guy keeps showing up, and I'd go to battle with him all day long, because he's a guy that I know is going to be there. I know he's going to work hard. I know he's going to put the time in. I know he's going to care about the team. I know he's going to care about me. I know he's got my back. And those are the kind of people you need when you run with 65 guys. You're going to run into a lot of different mixes and personalities, and eventually, especially in a league like ours, that shit's going to blow up. Like, it's one thing if it's 65 on a pro roster, or let's say 50 on a pro roster or a junior roster. Like, those guys, they don't have the ability to be cancers, become toxic, or whine and complain. They'll just cut their ass and find somebody else. In this league, I think you're almost always running into problems. So I would lean to them to that answer as well. What about you?
I'm sure. Like I think Chad mentioned on the business side, back office side, that 65 player roster sounds sweet, because you're like, okay, the budget's all getting handled. They got excess cash. We got to do things, New Jersey and all that. But it's definitely one thing to where, I'd very much rather have guys who are buying in, bought in, and I know that, hey, I can like depend on you, because that's probably the one thing now where in life it's hard to have dependability on individuals in all of our aspects here, which everyone can relate to and have those moments. But to have that as a space, in our generation, our league, and as meant to have people who you can depend on and fight with and fight for, is very, very unique, which I think our sport brings. So I very much would go for 25 guys, bought in, die in, only need like 6 cars to roll up to a team. Like what? Like how many minivans is that for 25 people? That's what they carry with 6. Yeah, like 5 or 6 minivans, maybe more than the 5 for the equipment. You're rolling in and out. That's a squad right there.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? We gotta wrap this up because I know Grand Prairie's got to practice in 35 minutes. We were able to basically wrap up week 1. We talked about week 2 because there was only 2 games. So we talked about the Wolfpack game. We talked about the Grand Prairie game. So we're basically caught up on the podcast now. Omari, we'll try to maybe record Sunday night. I'm free Sunday, so we'll talk and we'll do our week 3 wrap up. We'll talk about the week 3 games. There's some good ones coming up this week. I will say too, if you've listened to the whole podcast and you heard my rant at the beginning, I do want to mention, and I meant to mention at the beginning, the vice president's name is Mike Becker, and he is actually a guy that I really like. So I haven't had a lot of conversations with him, but I did tell the entire executive to step down. I would like to take that back. I actually like Mike. I think Mike should take over the whole thing. Just in the small dealings that I've had with him, he's been reasonable, and he's a guy like me that wants to grow the league. As vice president, he has literally zero influence. Nobody even cares he's there. I promise you that. No influence, no vote. Nobody listens to the words he says. So entire executive, you can either step down or be more transparent. Start putting out weekly updates. What are you doing for the league? Who are you? What's your passion? Why are you being a part of the league? Like, let people know who you are. Let people know what you're doing. Or I'll resign and then Mike can take over the ship and we can go from there. So sorry, Mike, I should have said that earlier. And then is there anything else I wanted to cover today? I don't think so. Omar, you got anything else you wanted to cover?
No, I think everything's pretty smooth. I guess when it comes to anything previous, I think we'll get into our week 1, week 3 stuff I think if anything, only thing I'll say is when it comes to on the Wolfpack side of things, it's I guess to wrap up week 2. You know, that was a game here too where it was I think that meme that went up was a boxing match. I'm like, literally, you just gotta take it.
Yeah.
You gotta take that one on the chin, pun intended, and move on. And I think that's gonna be one to where I look forward to where if there's opportunity where we can play them again. Like guys, you know, have those feelings of what it was like to go through that game. Because there's a bit of complaining, this and that. Like, hey, look, we just got to play football. And that's one thing that they did. So I look forward to the rematch if it ever comes and then go from there.
Yeah. And, you know, what's interesting about this year is that we have 7 teams and only 6 make the playoffs. So you guys definitely want to try to get a win under your belt. That was why it was so big for us on the Bucks to try to get that win to hopefully at least secure the opportunity to be in the playoffs. Because as we know, anything can happen in the playoffs. Other than that, yeah, we're going to probably try to record Sunday night. We normally will get into previews of the upcoming week. We're not able to do that this week because we're kind of on a bit of a time crunch. I'll say our rankings, I think Omari and I agree right now, would be Gators first, Jets second, Elite third. After that, there's a lot of close teams. I would think the Bucks obviously would be ahead of the pack. And at this point, we don't really know with the Irish because the Bucks didn't get to play the Irish. I don't know if anybody heard about that. And other than that,
I guess I can do that. But bottom half, like I mean, it's no surprise. Pack is last, which that's no surprise. We're 0-2, had the most points scored in us. I'd put it'd go for the last 3 teams. Because then you put it basically Gators, Jets, Elite, and I would go Grand Prairie, Bucks, Airdrie, and Pack. Just in this instance where this is now where with that game, I'm a little spicy things up to where you guys have put up more offense to where than the Irish, right? And then the Grand Prairie defense, I guess per quarter and like phoning into the stats, like held the Gators to a closer range than the Jets. So giving them that defensive edge. So this is now where we need a game to decide that mismatch there.
Yeah. But, you know what? And I would say Grand Prairie probably has a stronger defense than us right now. Defensively, we didn't do great. We've got, obviously, I'm not playing DB this year because playing quarterback and playing both ways is tough. I probably will at some point pop out there on the corner when games matter. Or games are close. But we've got a lot of young kids. Mason Rempel is going to be a stud corner. You guys will hear about him. He had a great game at an interception on the weekend. Nathan Good is a phenomenal halfback that we have. And we've got some decent DBs across the line. We've got to beef up our linebackers. We've got a good one in Ethan Mackey, and Ruben Breitenbach played there a little bit, but hopefully we're getting some reinforcements. We should be coming next week. So it should be an interesting week in the AFL. I'm looking forward to seeing how the games go this week. I'm looking forward to seeing Edmonton. I like playing teams that have nice jerseys. It's just always been a thing of mine. Like, even if I'm going against you, I like teams that have nice jerseys. I like looking at things that are appealing to my eyes. So I'm looking forward to seeing those in person and seeing some of those guys, seeing my boy Terrell out there and hopefully trying to not get intercepted by him and hopefully not getting destroyed by number 9. So I will be sliding and running out of bounds, and hopefully no one wants to take a UR against me because I still want to golf a lot this year. So hopefully 100%. Yeah. Okay. I'm hoping everybody stays safe. Will, it's always great to hear from you. Chad, great to see you again, and we'll see you in a couple weeks when we head up there in July. Omari, good luck this week with your game, and I'll let you send us out.
Yeah. Hey, appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate Chad and Will coming on. Good luck with your guys' game as well. I'm pretty sure it's nice to be at home and have people come to you. And I think the overall story from here, from the Grand Prairie preview or Peace Country preview, is that the rumor is true. You play for Grand Prairie, you make $100,000, you have a house, right? That's literally how it goes, right? That's how it goes up north, right?
And sponsor the podcast, Grand Prairie Moneymakers. Like, we're here and we were waiting. All these people talking about how much money they're making.
Anytime anyone's talking any smack about Grand Prairie, just know, you look at that sideline. There's the net worth on that sideline probably weight in gold. So, you know, that's probably
I
what
wouldn't say all of us are. There's a handful of guys that.
you know.
All right.
But
All right, guys.
it's pretty there. But yeah, hey, appreciate you guys coming on and everything.
Hit me up when you come to Grand Prairie, Teach. We'll go golfing.
Oh, I'd love to. I 100% will. That'd be great.
I suck, but you got a nice white hat, so I can golf with you.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you.
You guys will see all this
Later,
episode
guys.
here. See you later.
Thanks for
We'll
having
catch
me.
you on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, and all that, which is good to go. I did get a new laptop, so hopefully rendering these episodes out are going to be a lot faster, so I'll be good to go, and we'll see it all caught up. That's why I haven't been doing much, because it's been quite a laggy time, but we're good on that front. Drink your water, start your hydration process, get your vitamin D in, whatever you need. Always visit the Teej Pharmacy. I remember week 1 walking by and was just clacks of bottles and everything. So.
I got a whole table this year. I keep adding stuff to my my natural medicine cabinet. I'm really into pine pollen and shilajit this year, so those two have been really good for me. So you know what I should do? I should get like an affiliate link for some of these cool supplements that I'm taking. Maybe I'll look into that and we can sponsor the podcast through that.
Yeah.
All right. Appreciate it, guys. Take care. Good luck this weekend. Stay safe. Bye.
Peace.